Hello again, everybody. This is emmavoid, back once more with another episode of my Necrobarista Let's Play. Last we left off, we had checked out all the stuff available here in this little interlude thing, and we're about to continue on with the story. So, yes we shall. Man, I'd love to see that. I could use a pick-me-up. I can't promise it'll be there. It's kind of inconsistent. Still though, a hallway that's only there sometimes? How do you get to the kitchen otherwise? There's another, slightly longer one that we use instead. It's much less exciting. But on the upside, it's consistently there. I love telling new people about it, though. The reaction's always hilarious. Oh, I definitely didn't expect to be getting enthusiastic today over a weird quantum hallway. When people start getting nervous about magic, they usually start trying to explain it using science terms to reassure themselves. Yeah, that sounds about right. More enthusiastic at all, actually, because as soon as I stop to think about it, I realize I'm actually extremely messed up about this. Oh, what you reading there? I understand. Your life has gotten very weird very fast, conceptually speaking. Or, your unlife? I should be better at talking about this by now, shouldn't I? Jeez, that's not a fun one to talk about, huh? Just keep talking about the hallway, so I can keep my mind off this. To be honest, I'm not sure I could even properly explain a lot of what goes on in here. The building's mildly sentient. Too much magic in the soil for it not to be, really. So the cafe's alive? Not necessarily. Plenty of things have come to life here, but as far as we can tell, the building itself doesn't really fall into that category. Also, it mostly tends to shift itself in ways that are helpful instead of frustrating, so quantum always. I'm making myself a cuppa. Australian vernacular for a cup of tea. Not just Australian, but, you know, important cultural institution, especially when drunk in the afternoon. You want something? No, I'm good for now. Also, what's the barista's name? I didn't actually catch it, and I feel like a jerk. Ah, Maddie. She's the owner now, not just the barista. Still makes coffee, of course. But since she's the owner now, she has a lot more to juggle. Why are you asking? Got your eye on her, huh? No, I have a boyfriend. Oh, jeez, this is a lot. I can't imagine how he's feeling. Try not to think about it. Okay. Yep. Okay. You want that drink now? I think I want something a little more potent than coffee right now, sorry. Don't enable him, Keishan. Shush. I can get you something stronger, mates. Shot of whiskey, perhaps. Neat bourbon is always the perfect mix of classy yet unpretentious. I thought this was a cafe. Well, it is. Mostly. We do serve alcohol, though. And stronger things on request. Stronger? Like what? Baijiu? Absinthe? Pure ethanol? You think a place like this wouldn't have anything stronger than that? Stronger than pure ethanol? Sure. Remind me later and I might pull out some of my special reserve. Don't enable him, Keishan. Hey, someone's got to drink it. I know you're not going to touch the stuff aside from setting it on fire. Excuse me, I have perfectly good reasons for wanting to set a puddle of distilled soul on fire. We'll agree to disagree on that one. So, Keishan, what'll it be? Actually, I changed my mind on the coffee. Could I order something complex? Gotta treat myself on my last day on Earth. I'm after a sugar rush. If we have the ingredients, it shouldn't be an issue. Maddie can whip it up for you. Cool. In that case, can I have a large quadruple shot, double vanilla caramel, no foam, super hot, reverse, coconut milk macchiato? Oh my god. With 2 sugars and whipped cream on top. Maddie? Yes, dearest? Can you, I don't quite know how. Is this real? Oh, is it too much? I was gonna ask for that shot of whiskey Che mentioned earlier, but it seemed a little extra. Well, yes, it is too much. I don't think even Starbucks would serve that. Why? Because it's a fucked up order, man. Dang. Every single word of that increased my urge to set the espresso machine on fire so I wouldn't have to think about making coffee ever again. Maddie has all the classic symptoms of being a pyromaniac, but she's definitely not a pyromaniac. Oh, but the whiskey's fine. I do that too. I have a counteroffer, which you have to accept. Yeah? I'll make you another double shot long black, and I'll put whiskey in it, but I won't call you a hipster this time. If you decline my offer, on God, I will strip your soul from your body and use it to scrub the counters at closing time. They will smell delicious afterwards, if that's any consolation. Yikes. That does sound like a competitive counteroffer. Not the soul thing. I'll take the coffee. My generosity knows no bounds. Normie. Amazing. So, to conclude, that order sucked because it defies the laws of physics, has a heart attack's worth of sugar in it, and is something only wankers ask for. Is it possible to die twice? Yep. You can die twice if you're brought back from the dead. Or if you manage to really annoy someone between here and the next place, which is more likely because resurrection is illegal. Resurrection is reserved for emergencies, and the Council has very particular definitions about what constitutes an emergency. Many centuries pass without a single qualified emergency. Neat. But if you're asking whether you can get a heart attack or whatever, the answer is no. Life and death have a slightly different meaning here. You can't die from natural causes. It's a bit complex and weird, and we're still in the process of figuring out how it all works. I'm over 200 years old, and I still haven't made proper sense of it yet. Just got some vague ideas. Right. So what's keeping me from just staying here? Like, I'm already dead. Why do I have to go to the next place? You've got a certain number of hours you're allowed to remain on the edge of the mortal realm. Hours are fungible. Fungible? They can be bought, sold, and exchanged, generally speaking. But the Council of Death always collects on debts owed to them. And you'll start running up a debt if you stay here too long. Your soul starts to get itchy, too. Is there any feeling less pleasant than an itch you can't scratch? Probably, but it's still up there. It's not something you want to experience. We've had a few stay past their allotted time, and they've gotten very uncomfortable very fast. It starts with general irritability, and then worse things begin to happen. It's a weird thing to wrap your head around. How long do I have before I need to make myself scarce? You get 24 hours. Any longer, and we start to pick up the tab since you're on our premises. Terminal is a place where borrowed time has a very literal meaning. And as charming as you are, we've already ranked up too much time debt from letting people stick around past their expiry date. We're deep enough in the hole as is, hours-wise. And cash-wise, we're extremely poor. We've been a bit too lenient in the past, letting people stay just a little longer instead of gently shooing them onto the next plane of existence, etc. You know the drill. But hey, since hours are fungible, you can always acquire them some other way. There's something happening tonight, actually, that you might be interested in. Seriously? You're still doing that? Shush! You know the council doesn't look on that stuff favorably. Ned said so himself. It draws customers and helps us shave down the debt. I'll take whatever I can get. And hey, fuck Ned. We have a 13-year-old right here, you know. She's heard enough coarse language for a lifetime. I'm not too worried about her. She's right, though. What? Every time Ned comes around, he makes you guys really stressed out. Ashley's at that age where she's learned to recognize when other people are stressed, but not experienced enough to fully understand what it feels like. Maybe not you so much, but Maddie gets nervous, and it brings down the mood, man. So, fuck Ned. Goodness, I think you've had too much coffee today. I am crashing so hard right now, you have no idea. It's like I was crashing earlier, but that was just a pre-crash, and I'm having a double crash or something. All I ask is that you try and keep the swearing to a minimum when customers are around. Okay. Does Keishan count? It's fine. A couple of my housemates are tradies, so you learn to ignore it pretty quick. Great way to save money on rent and never get lonely if you're not attached to the idea of personal space. Mood. Are tradies? We're tradies. They're still tradies unless they changed career in the last couple days. But they're not my roommates anymore. Because... Hey mates, have I mentioned how much being dead sucks? Because it sucks, and I feel extremely bad about it. Having a pretty bad time right now in general, to be honest. Yep. Even just adapting your language is a pain, isn't it? Want a proper drink now? Without coffee in it? Yeah, that'd be good. The TV didn't say anything about there being a storm tonight. Melbourne storm, noun. A somewhat unusual weather phenomenon known for being the only one of its kind to occur below the Barassi line. Huh. It looks like a decent-sized one's rolling in. Melbourne weather strikes again. I'll go upstairs and close the windows. Cheers. Come on, Ashley. Let's clean up your workbench while we're up there, yeah? Do you need a bribe? Yes. I have some chocolate hidden away. Acceptable. Ashley's the best. Wait. Dead people can still get drunk, yeah? Why else do you think we serve alcohol? To make money? Well, yeah. Hang on. Do I even have my wallet? Doubt it. I don't. Yeah. How does that work? Why do I have my clothes but not the contents of my pockets? A good place for things that don't have a place. Chewing gum, spare change, nervous hands. Yeah. I don't know, dude. Everyone's experience is different. Death doesn't follow many rules. Only universal rule I can think of is that you can't stay. People don't generally come in without their clothes, fortunately. Generally. So, about this drink. I guess you're gonna give me straight vodka or something?
Why is that?
You don't like making complex drinks.
Dude, no. I don't like making ridiculous caffeine-laced milkshakes for overcompensating soccer dads. I'm happy to mix a cocktail, within reason.
Oh, okay. What have you got then?
Shay's got everything you can think of, and then some.
I could go for a mint julep. Hey, what's that outside?
Uh-oh. Looks like we might have another customer. Outside? Some guy out in the rain? Ah, shit.
Maddie? Maddie, what's up?
Let's get started on that drink. Oh. This guy looks familiar.
Morning. Hi? Hello, recently departed. Hey, that hat you're wearing kinda makes you look like... Ned Kelly? I could have sworn you were standing outside literally a second ago. So, how'd this one cark it?
Good morning to you too, Ned.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning, Madeline.
Piss off, Nedward. That's not even my full name.
Isn't it, Maddie? Shay said it was, and he never lies.
He never said that.
Well, no. But it was worth a try.
A try of what? Catching me off balance? Some shit along those lines? Mate, I'm so off balance right now that a light breeze would knock me head over arse. Don't push me.
Hey, this mint julep is great. Just wanted to contribute that to the conversation. So you catch the game last night?
Australian Football League provides everyone with a chance to root for your favorite local team. Unless you're Tasmanian. No. And I do not care to discuss the egg sport with you or anyone else. Don't try it.
Ugh. Just making polite conversation. You should try it sometime.
Maybe. Not for you, though. You've never come in during daylight hours before. What do you want?
Nothing much. I'd like to talk to Shay at some point, but it can wait, seeing as he's... missing.
Planning on sending out a search party?
Might do. It'd be a shame to lose an old friend by letting him wander onto some train tracks or something.
Yeah, well, shut up. He's upstairs last I saw.
What was the last you saw, Maddie? Tell me.
Why are you like this?
What was it?
Last saw him walking upstairs.
So he could be anywhere then. Probably fled the country to dodge the massive time debt you lot are racking up.
Oof. Some obligations have a way of following you no matter where you run to. Anywho, this guy's a jerk. He can't go far. I've got him on a pretty tight leash. And in regards to the debt...
It's not your problem.
You must not have heard.
Not your problem.
Che, your dickhead friend Ned is here.
Oi. I'm a distinguished gent, not a dickhead. I'll be down in a sec.
Yeah, sure, but you also work for the Council of Death. So even if you are a distinguished gent, it cancels out.
Is the Council of Death like a normal city council, except for wherever dead people live?
Yeah, but the only trash that needs to be collected is right in front of me.
This guy?
Me? No, you. You're the trash, Ned. The trash is you. It's you, Ned, the trash man from hell. Because councils pick up trash. That's the joke.
Oh, cool. He's even got a head.
He's even got a head shaped like a rubbish bin. It's totally fitting.
I'm not from hell.
I don't care. And to be clear, Ned, in case we weren't already, you are the trash.
Yeah, I get it. You know how long Che's going to be?
Dunno. He was busy upstairs with Ashley.
Yeah, I had to hide like 5 steak knives from her.
God. Oh, that scene when Ashley threw the knife, that was amazing.
I didn't even know we had 5 steak knives. Be quiet there, mates. How long have you been sitting there?
Doesn't matter.
Well, your employee's being very rude to me. So if you'd heard any of that...
I keep trying to tell him.
Ah, my employee. Yes, we have some catching up to do. I don't follow. Did she quit?
Maddie's not one to back away from a challenge, but if she did, she wouldn't be the first.
Did you fire her for gross incompetence?
Far from it. There's been a bit of a shake-up in the cafe's management structure since you last visited.
Oh no. Don't tell me you gave her the whole thing.
Okay, I won't tell you. I tried to tell you before, man.
Hey, does anyone else like mint juleps?
Poor guy.
Because this is great, and I'm nearly done, but also my tongue is numb, and I'm wondering what the deal is with that. Was there something you wanted to discuss? I need a drink before we go through all that. Sure, the usual. Yes, please.
Right. Well then. How come he gets a curly straw? Oh, amazing. So, Che, spin me a tale of how... Oh, okay. I like when they have the little silhouettes of the characters, because then it makes it easier to tell who's talking. Anywho.
So, Jay, spin me a tale of how and why you handed down the cafe to this person.
Well, every man's got his price.
Can my price be a curly straw too?
Buddy, I'll give you 2 if it means you'll stop complaining about numb lips.
Yeah, what did you make this with?
This is funny. I couldn't find half the ingredients, so I put in a bunch of baijiu and, chili seeds? It's got some of the stuff, though, so it's a mint julep in spirit, if nothing else.
Does this have any mint or julep in it? At all?
Definitely may be lacking mint, and I cannot confirm nor deny the existence of the mythical julep. To some people, this place seems otherworldly. For others, this is just the world they live in. Mood. You asked for baijiu earlier, though, so there you go. Mission complete.
Maddie, I'm getting very drunk, very fast.
Baijiu will do that to you. Here, I think you should have a little lie down. I'll get you some water.
I'm as strong as an ox. I don't need no lie down.
Keishan, my dude, you absolutely need to get horizontal as soon as possible. You can sober up in one of the booths at the back. It's nice and quiet over there.
I'll fight you.
I'll win, though. Up you get, mate.
Oh, bloody hell. Would have been helpful if you'd told me about this before.
Probably. I'm not worried about it. Maddie knew what she was getting into with this whole cafe situation, and it's natural that it might take a while for her to get the hang of running a business.
Bloody hell. Bit of a dog's dinner, though, isn't it?
Dog's dinner, Ned would know.
Oh, for sure. But it'll get better. Like I said, not worried about it. Well, you might want to hold your judgment on that for the moment. I am unfortunately here on official business.
Oh.
I shouldn't have given you the straw then. No, You shouldn't have.
Yeah, for some reason I get this guy makes me think of a Grim Reaper sort of figure.
I look quite silly. Wants me to get rid of it. It's just Maddie. She won't use it to derail our conversation or make me look like a fool or anything like that.
Straw? No, I'll get you one after you have a nap. You can sip the water like a normal person.
I'll put it with the dirty dishes then.
Ooh.
The sacrifices I make for this job. Hey, you met me through it, so it can't have been all bad. That was, bloody, 100 years ago.
Man, really?
Longer. Time flies when you're immortal, huh? Quasi-immortal. This old rust bucket's still got an expiry date somewhere down the line.
Time comes for us all. What's this about immortality?
Hey, you should buy more plants.
Shut up. Sorry, continue. Immortality?
Nothing that I'd trust you with, that's for sure.
Aw, you don't want to see crotchety old me being rude to youngsters in 100 years?
Truly, I do not. The far future doesn't need amateur necromancers.
Oof, rude. Amateur can describe someone who's not good enough to turn pro, but it could also mean someone who passionately engages in something just for the pure love of it. I mean, yeah. Your loss. So, you two heading upstairs?
Actually, Ned does in fact have something fairly important to discuss with you.
Oh?
It's about the debt you owe. To the council.
Yeah, I know. What about it? Shorts. I'm sorry, the shorts might be the worst part of his outfit.
Maddie, it's time. You owe us over 600 hours. Shay signed a contract. The hours, or the cafe. You own the cafe, so you own the debts. And tonight, I've come to collect.
Oh. That's unfortunate. A single... Wow, okay. Frick. Oh. And that's why she's doing necromancy. Maybe? Huh. Pretty rad title theme. I dig it. Yay! Look who it is. That was kind of intense. Do they do that often?
Oh, the song and dance thing?
Yeah. What do they think they are? Some sort of anime street gang? What sort of self-obsessed jerk has their own theme song?
Well, don't be a doubter, pal.
No, I was talking about the dramatic encounter.
Oh, between Maddie and Ned?
Yes.
Yeah, they've got chemistry.
Not the romantic kind, the explosive kind. Can't leave them in the same room together or they'll kill each other. Bad history?
Maddie's just a serially troublesome person from Ned's perspective.
Doesn't help that she can't stop herself from pulling pranks on him.
No, I suppose not. I mean, he doesn't make it easy either.
I don't think he's used to having his authority questioned. She really gets under his skin. Wasn't he a famous criminal? And therein lies the irony of the situation.
What a strange world we live in.
Say the three weird little robots.
This shouldn't be a depressing memory for any of us.
Ah, Doodle mode is now available. You can now speak to Ashley to access Doodle mode. Doodle mode? Ashley? Ashley. Oh hey, we're upstairs. Nice. Okay, real quick, I gotta find Ashley. I gotta find out what this Doodle mode is. They say Doodle mode is now available, but now I can't go downstairs. I'm trapped. Trapped like a rat in a... like a rat in a cafe, I guess. Okay, billiards. Brad took a sip from his beer. It was non-alcoholic, but there was something about the dry aftertaste that kept him frosty. He leaned over the table and lined up his next shot. He eyed the problematic 9-ball in the upper right corner. He had a low percentage shot on it if he elected to bank it in, but he had 2 other stripes in the lower left to set up. If he had an audience, he'd go for the bank shot for sure. He liked the chance to shine. But today, there was no one to impress, no audience for flashy low percentage of shots. He took the shots on the 11 and 12, and 3 shots later sunk the 9. An easy shot on the 8 sealed the deal. Brad scanned the table. 4 solid balls remained, a dismal performance on his part. Or a stellar performance on the part of the stripes player. That was the problem with playing against yourself. You always won, but you always lost too. Brad chugged the remainder of his beer and added it to his collection of empties, which now stood 5 bottles strong. He took a moment to survey the room. His table was the only one of the 4 that was in use. That didn't come as any surprise to him. It was early in the evening, and he'd grown accustomed to spending time alone in this room. He knew when he could come here to be alone, and when the other sharks showed up. Brad grabbed the triangle. It was looped around his collection of beer bottles to set the balls in order for another round. Someone came up the stairs. Brad looked up briefly, long enough to see a woman who he recognized as the dour-faced barkeep who had served him the beers that had kept him company for the past hour or 2. Several steps behind the woman, he saw an older-looking man. The man stopped in front of the table opposite Brad's and began chalking up his cue. Brad directed his attention to the man. He usually offered people a game when they came up, but the man seemed prepared to keep to himself, so Brad said nothing and tried to focus on his own table. He set up to break, and the older man coughed as he shot. He hit the cue ball just a fraction of a degree off. It bounced off the rack into one of the side pockets, and the rest of the balls jostled around the table.
Stink.
Brad didn't swear when playing pool. His earliest experiences with competitive billiards had been in the environments that forbade obscenities and issued foul penalties every time he let out an involuntary shit or fuck. He had to find cleaner substitutes. Break came the sound from the old man's table. 2, 3, 4. Brad put down his break cue and picked up the leather-tipped cue that was leaning against the table. 5, 6. Brad chalked his cue, trying to avoid the tilt from his bad break. 7, 8. He lined up to shoot and realized that the man was already fishing his balls out of the pockets and collecting them in the triangle. Brad did a double take. Had the man sunk the 8-ball after 8 strokes, including break? Brad continued playing his own table, but kept an eye on the older man this time. It happened again. Break, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A perfect clean sweep. As the old man began clearing the table, Brad walked over.
Excuse me, he said, but I couldn't help but notice you just hit 2 perfect games. What's that? The man turned to Brad, squinting at him. Brad repeated himself, a bit louder this time. I was just complimenting you on your 2 perfect games. Impressive stuff. The man heaved his shoulders. Sometimes you get a bit of luck on your side. Still, said Brad, you don't see novices hitting 2 consecutive perfect games. The man offered another ineffectual shrug. Do you, want to play a game? Brad gestured to his own table, which was already set up. Most of the people who come around here tend to be novices. I've been itching for a bit of competition. Brad paused, but the man said nothing. Of course, if you'd prefer to play your own table, I don't mean to intrude. We can play, said the man. Though, if I can shoot perfect a 3rd time, you won't get to. I'd be impressed if you could pull that off, said Brad. The older man racked the balls and stepped away from the table to let Brad break. Brad leaned over the table and took several practice strokes before finally connecting with the cue ball. The break was weaker than he had expected, but he managed to sink 1 ball. He looked at the table annoyed and realized that he hadn't bothered to check if the rack was frozen before he broke. His next shot was straight into the middle pocket. He briefly visualized the trajectory of the cue ball in his mind. It would easily knock the 6th ball in, then bounce toward the front of the table. Brad wasn't confident of where exactly the ball would stop, but he was confident he'd be able to do something with it. He took the shot, and the 6th ball went in. Solids. After the cue ball settled, he found himself no good options. Brad smiled. Making something out of nothing was his specialty, and after a few moments of eyeing different angles, he settled on a shot toward one of the bottom pockets. A striped ball was in the way, so Brad hit the cue ball several degrees to the side, curving its trajectory around the enemy ball. It hit the solid 3 ball, and the shot was made. Brad looked at the man, hoping for some kind of reaction. The man's mouth remained a flat line, but his eyebrows arched. If anything, the man's lack of obvious expression struck him as a deliberate attempt to not show a response. That he had managed to get a slight rise out of the old man felt like sweet victory. Brad made his next shot quickly, an easy straight-in shot on the 2 ball, made without thinking about where the cue ball would land. That was a problem for future Brad. But several seconds later, present Brad found himself scolding past Brad for putting him in such a foul position. He was corner-hooked. With the cue ball trapped next to the corner pocket, the only angles available to Brad existed in a 60-degree arc. He surveyed his limited options, breathed a sigh of relief as a relatively straightforward bank shot presented itself. It was an awkward angle, but he knew he could coax the 3 ball into the opposite corner pocket. He took the shot, watching as the 3 ball rolled compliantly into its designated pocket. Unfortunately, the cue ball went with it, ending Brad's turn in placing the ball in the man's possession. Ah, stink. Brad could have sworn the man winked at him as he fished the cue ball out and lined up a simple shot on a side pocket. The 9 went in, then the 11 and the 12. Brad found himself taking it for granted that each striped ball would enter its designated pocket, and instead focused on the cue ball. Somehow, the cue ball always wound up in a position that presented the oldster with the ideal chip shot. Ball after ball fell off the bed, until finally only the black 8 ball and Brad's solids remained. Fortunately for Brad, the 8 ball and the cue ball were at opposite sides of the table, and several of Brad's in between. The man eventually gave up and settled for a defensive shot that put the cue ball behind the 8. Now the tables were turned. Brad was the one cut off from his balls. He lived for shots like this. He took the shot. The cue ball hit the 8, and the 8 hit the 1, and the 1 hit the 7, bouncing against the front of the table and into one of the side pockets. Brad couldn't help his smile. Things couldn't have gone better even if he'd planned them. Instinct and muscle memory did what his calculating mind couldn't. Now that the table was conveniently free of striped balls, Brad had no trouble sinking the remaining consecutive shots he needed to close out the game. As Brad lined up the final shot on the 8 ball, he studied the older guy. If the man was reacting, he couldn't tell. Brad closed his eyes as he completed the final stroke, as he always did. He wasn't really religious. He'd stopped going to church with his mom when he was 12, but it always felt right to leave the result of the game to God. "Damn," said the old man as the 8 ball fell into its pocket. Brad flinched. He'd been hoping for some praise from the man for winning the game. Perhaps a damn was all that the man was prepared to offer. "Excuse me," said Brad, "but I don't think we bothered to exchange names. I'm Brad." "Thomas." The old man extended a hand. "I've got to say," said Brad, "you're quite the player. I take it you're not from around here?" "No," said the man. "I grew up in Brisbane, retired in Sydney. I'm just passing through." Brad nodded. "I figured. I actually grew up in this neighborhood. Played on tables just like these when I was a kid, so I know most of the folks on the local competitive circuit. I guess someone like you would have to play competitively, huh? You don't pick up skills like that in a tiny pond." "You'd be surprised," said Thomas. "A man can accomplish quite a bit when given enough idle time." "But you have played competitively," said Brad. "I used to, yes," said Thomas. "I actually formally retired many years ago, but kept a table at home for practice to keep my mind sharp." "Where'd you compete?" "Oh, I toured in England." "Wait," said Brad. "You were a pro?" "A pro makes a salary," said Thomas. "I won enough to cover my travel expenses and to make up for the time I spent not working a real job." Brad couldn't hide his excitement. "Wait, you said England. Did you ever play in the World Billiards Championship?" "Yep," said the old man. "I played the WBC for a few years, but eventually I decided the title was a summit I'd never reach. So I quit." "Wait," said Brad again. "You said your name was Thomas. Are you Thomas Walsh?" "Indeed I am," said Thomas. "You're a legend." "I think you might be overstating it," said Thomas. "Even when I was at my prime, I wasn't the best. Results speak for themselves." "Nah, fuck that," said Brad. "You were a finalist for 6 years running. Nobody's ever been that consistent. Even the best pros who manage to run hot burn out after more than 2 or 3 years." Thomas sipped his beer. "I've spent hundreds of hours watching your videos," said Brad. "I didn't realize there were videos of me," said Thomas. "I have tapes of the finals from 1967 and 1968, said Brad. "They didn't record them before that, but your last 2 years got recorded for posterity. They're kind of rarities at this point, but I had a coach who had a vault of old footage." "Coach?" Thomas arched an eyebrow. "Yeah," said Brad. "You didn't have a coach?" Thomas shook his head. "We mostly just taught ourselves, and each other. Sometimes you got to practice with people better than you, but that was it." "Well, I mostly taught myself," said Brad. "But after I started winning some regionals, I joined a team so that I could get sponsored and have a group to train with." "Interesting." Brad waited for Thomas to question further, but no question came, so he decided to continue without an invitation. "I won the WBC in 2012. No luck since then, I take it," said Thomas. Brad stammered out, "Well, yeah." He laughed, awkward. "I've never been a consistent player. Not like you, anyway." He offered a sheepish grin. "My mom had an album full of article clippings talking about me like I was some kind of prodigy, next big thing. Now it feels like I'll forever be a footnote in history." Brad waited for the words of affirmation to come from his hero. Thomas just took another drink from his glass, finishing off before setting it down next to Brad's empty bottles. Said Brad, feeling foolish. "Can I get you a drink in exchange for another game? It would be a real pleasure." "Sure," said Thomas. "Get me a Guinness. Actually, make it 2. Brad sprinted down the stairs and returned several minutes later with a tray bearing 2 pints of Guinness. Thomas began setting out the table for the next game, Brad hovering over him. "You know," said Brad, "this place is pretty magical, getting to play a game of pool like this." He wasn't quite sure how to say it, but figured Thomas knew what he was getting at. "I mean, this is the sort of place where anything can happen, you know what I'm saying?" "Not anything," said Thomas. "There are limits." "Well, yeah," said Brad. "But still, 2 former champs, one coming back from beyond the grave, so to speak. That's not the kind of encounter you'd expect to have anywhere else." Thomas looked at him. "Magical indeed. When I walked up here, I didn't realize that you were, well..." He rubbed his chin. "Let's just say I don't meet a lot of pool pros at bars." He took a sip of his beer. "Want a break?" "Sure." Brad broke, and with hands guided by instinct, managed to sink 5 balls consecutively. Like magic, his shots always connected. Some people might buckle under pressure, but Brad's performance always seemed to rise to the occasion. With just 2 striped balls left, Brad knew he was on a streak, But as he lined up his next shot, he took a moment to consider the position of the 8-ball. It was nestled in an awkward position behind Thomas's balls, but if he could clear a path to it while singing the last stripe... Brad looked at the sea of balls and knew there was no way for him to mentally calculate every vector, but instinct had gotten him this far, and he wasn't about to stop listening to it now. Brad took the shot, and the cue ball knocked the last striped ball into the corner pocket. Then the cue ball bounced off the table back toward Thomas's cluster of balls. Brad grinned in elation as the cue ball hit a solid, which hit another, and another in a chain reaction that sent the 8-ball heading right toward the corner, just like he'd wanted. It was headed right toward the corner, where there were no balls to intercept it. It was headed right toward the corner, into the pocket. He stopped grinning. Brad knew with a growing dread that the friction of the cloth wouldn't be enough to stop the ball in time. He watched the impending disaster happen in slow motion, powerless to stop it. The game had been going so well. He'd been about to hit a perfect game in front of his childhood hero. Now he was going to lose it in the most inglorious way imaginable, an accidental, illegal combination shot. Brad closed his eyes, but not even God could help him now. He didn't need to see it. The sound of the ball plunking into the pocket was enough. He'd lost the game. I guess that's it. That's definitely an interesting story, to say the least. What else we got around here? Ooh. Delicate operation. Ashley stepped behind the counter and winced as the floor creaked under her feet. Maddie was nowhere to be seen, but Maddie did possess a remarkably sharp sense of hearing. Luckily, the cafe was empty as Ashley tiptoed to the case where Maddie kept the baked goods. Ashley lifted the glass lid off the case and closed her eyes as the scent of yesterday's lamingtons wafted up and overwhelmed her. Ashley had spent most of her life convinced that she didn't like coconuts, but that had changed the day that Shay had introduced her to lamingtons. To be fair, Ashley still wasn't sure that she actually liked coconut. Chocolate frosting can make anything taste good, but she couldn't deny the cake's irresistible allure. Ashley lifted a lamington from the case and gently set the lid back down. She raised the lamington to her lips and opened her mouth to take a bite. Ashley! In a moment of panic, Ashley shoved the pastry into her mouth and sealed her lips. Her mouth was quickly overwhelmed by the pastry's thick frosting covering, and she did her best to choke it down before turning to face Maddie. "Hmm?" said Ashley, hoping that her cheeks didn't betray what was inside. "Ah, good, you're here," said Maddie. It was a bad sign any time Maddie expressed pleasure in seeing Ashley. Normally, Maddie wavered between being annoyed by Ashley's presence and being indifferently tolerant of her. Anytime Maddie was happy to see Ashley, it meant work. "I need you to deliver something to Shay for me," said Maddie, turning to the counter to pick up a small bottle of something. As Maddie turned her attention to the bottle, Ashley took advantage of her momentary distraction to gulp down the remainder of the pastry. No time to chew, but her teeth wouldn't have done much good with the thick frosting. "You're not busy, are you?" said Maddie. Ashley shook her head no. The pastry was no longer inside her mouth to create a conspicuous bulge of cheeks, but opening her mouth would reveal the thick chocolate frosting that was still probably present on her teeth, so she kept her lips sealed. "Good," said Maddie. "He's upstairs. Get this to him ASAP." She handed the bottle to Ashley, and Ashley found herself surprised by how light the bottle was. Looking down, she could see that the bottle had thin walls. Within those thin walls, it contained some clear liquid, and its seal was held in place with a metal clamp, hermetically sealed. Ashley turned toward the stairs, holding the neck of the bottle in one hand, and let out a sigh. "One last thing." Ashley swallowed her sigh with a gulp and closed her mouth before facing Maddie, lips tightly shut. "Be careful not to drop it," said Maddie. "Thousands could die if you spill any of it." In any other situation, Ashley would have asked Maddie a probing question to figure out what was in the bottle, or get some idea of the significance of the task that had been assigned to her. Significant enough that thousands of lives held in the balance, but apparently not important enough for Maddie to do it herself. But Ashley's lips remained sealed, and she merely nodded and turned around. Lamingtons were not meant to be consumed in a single bite, especially by mouths as small as Ashley's, and the thickness of the frosting that lingered in her mouth and throat made her desperate to ask for some kind of drink, but she dared not ask for one. Oh no. Ashley looked down at the bottle, unsure of the best way to carry it. The bottle was slightly too large for her to hold in just one hand, and
grasping it in front of her as two hands felt awkward. The bottle wasn't heavy, but Ashley's confidence in her ability to carry the bottle without dropping it was less than perfect. Should she cradle it under her arm protectively? No, that seemed like it would put her at greater risk of fumbling the bottle. The pricker of her elbow wasn't as dexterous as her fingertips. She settled for carrying the bottle with one hand placed under the bottom to hold the weight, and the other hand wrapped around the neck to steady it. Ashley walked slowly with the bottle as she ascended the stairs. Maddie hadn't told her that the liquid was volatile, and the bottle was hermetically sealed, so there was zero chance of anything spilling out, but that didn't change the sense of trepidation Ashley felt. Armed with the knowledge that there were potentially thousands of lives at stake, she cringed every time she saw the liquid sloshing inside the bottle, leaping up and lapping at the edge of the seal. Ashley realized her arms were shaking and pressed the bottle against her chest, hoping to steady it. As Ashley's hands shook nervously, with the bottle held against her chest, she wondered if the large amount of sugar she had just forced down her throat had something to do with the shaking. It was more likely that her shaking was the result of being told that thousands of lives could be lost if she dropped the bottle. Still, the lingering taste of the pastry in her mouth didn't help. Ashley silently lamented the fact that she had been forced to consume the lamingtons so abruptly. Lamingtons were a treat to be savored, not shoved into one's mouth in a moment of panic. She hadn't even had the chance to properly enjoy it. It was hard to simultaneously feel the pleasure of a tasty treat and the panic of being caught. Whatever the outcome of this errand, she had wasted a wonderful pastry. Several agonizing minutes later, Ashley arrived at the top of the stairs and spotted Shay standing at the handrail. As she walked up, Shay turned to face her, and she presented him with the bottle. Ashley cleared her throat of any lingering stickiness before speaking. Maddie said you needed this.
Ah, good, said Shay. I was running low.
Ashley gasped with relief as Shay took the bottle from her, and started taking deep, labored breaths, suddenly becoming aware of how high her heart rate was. Shay popped open the seal on the bottle, then splashed some of it onto a rag. Several drops dripped onto the floor, and Ashley let out a terrified squeak. Something wrong? Said Shay. Maddie said that thousands of lives could be destroyed by what's in that bottle.
Well, that's the idea, said Shay as he folded the rag and ran it along the railing that overlooked the cafe's ground level. This is supposed to kill 99.9% of all bacteria. That still leaves hundreds of bacteria alive, but I try not to think too hard about that part.
Ashley's jaw dropped. It's disinfectant?
Yeah, said Shay. Why did Maddie not tell you?
Ashley's shoulders slumped in a mix of relief and exasperation. She only told me that it could kill thousands.
And you didn't ask what she meant by that?
No, said Ashley. I was preoccupied.
Huh, said Shay.
He turned his attention back to the railing, inspecting it for a moment before continuing to wipe. Ashley turned to head back downstairs.
By the way, Ashley.
Ashley turned to face Shay. He reached out and placed a finger on her shirt, wiping off a bit of frosting. He raised it to his finger. He raised it to his nose and smelled it.
Chocolate, he said.
Yes, said Ashley.
One of Maddie's lamingtons.
Yes, said Ashley. Shay nodded and licked the frosting off his finger.
Go downstairs and bring one up for me too, will you?
Well, that was definitely a thing. I like Ashley. She's hilarious. Aha! An advisory role. Maddie was washing her hands when Ashley poked her head around the corner. Here to confess something or here to ask for something, thought Maddie to herself as she dried her hands and turned to face the girl. The grin on Ashley's face confirmed that it was the latter. Maddie arched an eyebrow and turned to the coffee grinder. Ashley stepped around the corner and stood close enough to Maddie to occupy her field of view. Every time Maddie turned, Ashley again repositioned herself. She was waiting for Maddie to notice her. After a minute, Maddie decided that having Ashley hovering around her was more distracting than indulging whatever it was she wanted to talk about. What do you need, Ashley? I don't need anything, said Ashley. Though now that you mention needing things, I think you might need something. Such as? An advisor. Ashley smiled triumphantly as she delivered the word. Uh-huh. What would I need an advisor for? To advise you, of course, said Ashley. And I suppose you have a suggestion on who I should take on as an advisor. Well, said Ashley, now that you mention it, I'm not too busy. I could be your advisor. Because you're an expert on advising. That's what an advisor needs to know about. And what makes you an expert on advising? I've been learning a lot about advisors, said Ashley. They get to help make important decisions, and then the person they're advising has to take responsibility for them. That's why I'd make a good advisor. Because you don't want to take responsibility for your actions. I take responsibility for my advice, but if someone follows my advice, then that's their decision and their responsibility. Duh. I don't think I need an advisor, said Maddie. Oh, but you do, said Ashley. Aren't you always complaining about how busy you are? Yes, said Maddie. So busy that I don't have time to have extra counseling sessions with you. I'm not going to be a counselor, Maddie. I'm going to be your advisor. The difference being a counselor counsels and an advisor advises. Of course, said Maddie. Busy people always seem to have advisors, said Ashley. The Prime Minister has advisors. Presidents, too. All the most important people have advisors. Their advisors tend to be more experienced than they are, said Maddie. Advice travels from those who have it to those who need it. Well, I'm doing fine, so I don't need advising, said Ashley. But you could do with some advising, and I'd be happy to give you all the advice I've got. Plus, you're more important than I am. You're kind of like the Prime Minister of the Terminal, or the President of the Terminal, or whatever. The kind of person who needs advisors. I see, said Maddie. So, am I hired? You already have a lot on your plate, I'm sure, said Maddie. No, said Ashley. I've got lots of time free. Oh, no, there's your mistake. Ah, in that case, you have time to wash these dishes for me, said Maddie, tossing a drying rag to Ashley. Let me know when you're done. Wait, said Ashley. I'm only free to advise. I'm physically fatigued from a long day of work. Only my mind has extra processing power. I can only help you if it's by advising. Well, advising has physical responsibilities associated with it, right? Said Maddie. Like, sometimes an advisor will go to places to get important information. I guess so, said Ashley. I can do anything that relates to giving you information. In that case, Advisor Ashley, I need you to give me a report on which of these plates looks best when it's sparkling clean. But they're all dirty right now. Exactly. Time for you to do some investigative research. See ya. I love these dorks. Ooh. Maddie's inbox. From Jeanette Annette, JeanBean19 at yahoo.com. Subject Spirit Beacon Leaking. January 25th, 2014, 7:30:58. Admin at terminalvelocity.org. Hi, Madeline. This is Jeanette from the location down by the docks. I believe we met in person for the first time last month. I was opening up this morning and noticed that most of our spirit juice was gone. I checked the map and saw that you're the nearest location with a spirit beacon. I think you may have drained some of our supply. Honest mistake, I'm sure. But if you could stop running your spirit beacon during peak hours, that would be much appreciated. Thanks, and looking forward to working with you in the future. Jeanette. From Jeanette Annette, Spirit Beacon Lincoln. Hi, Madeline. Hope you got my previous message. Just wanted to give an update on the spirit juice situation over here. I had several bottles that I marked last night just to confirm the issue, and when I got in this morning, the levels were below where I marked them. We're definitely losing spirit juice, and you're the only spirit beacon close enough to be affecting us. Please modulate your use to reasonable levels. I don't think this should be a problem as long as you're not running your beacon overnight. Plus, again, not trying to assign blame here, but please be considerate to folks at other locations. Thanks, Jeanette. From Jeanette, Spirit Beacon Linking. Madeline, we are draining spirit juice over here so fast that if I sit and watch, I can see it disappearing from the bottle. You're the only spirit beacon that is even remotely close to where we are, so we really need you to stop. If it's affecting us, then it's probably affecting other locations. This is completely unacceptable. Fix this now. Jeanette. February 1st. Hey, Madeline. Care to explain why you weren't at the terminal today when I showed up? I spoke with a girl named Ashley who said you decided to take the day off. What a coincidence. I was not impressed by the crying routine you had her do. Honestly, you should be ashamed of using a child's fake tears to try and hide from a situation that you caused. Turn off your beacon. I don't want to be the bad guy here, but if you don't do something, I'm going to have to get the council involved. Uh-oh. From Clarence from Misplaced Cutlery. Hi, Maddie. This is Clarence from the docks location. Just wanted to give you a heads up. This morning we found out that the site manager we recently hired, I believe you met Jeanette last month, was leaving spirit juice in untempered glass bottles, and we had a bit of a leak. We ended up having a bit of a problem with some animated cutlery. We have the situation under control over here, and we're mostly sure everything is accounted for on our end. Unfortunately, this started happening about a week ago, which might be enough for something to wander off far enough that we wouldn't be able to detect it. Very unlikely that this happened, but just wanted to give you a heads up in case it was that steak knife wandered off far enough to find your beacon and decides to pay you a visit. Sorry about this situation. Rest assured that the person responsible for this won't have any opportunities to mess up anything of this magnitude again. By the way, are you planning on going to M's birthday next month? Regards, Clance. From Maddie Zhao. Reading Misplaced Cutlery. Hi, Clance. Sorry I missed your message earlier. I no longer use this address. Please use contact@terminalvelocity.org for anything related to terminal business. Hope you enjoyed M's birthday party. I don't remember why I couldn't attend, but I'm sure it was a good reason. Maddie. She wasn't even getting all those emails, was she? Amazing. Alright, what else we got? Okay. You're overdue this week, said Ned. He tapped the list of rules that Maddie had posted by the door. This 24-hour rule, are you sure you've been enforcing it? I think how we run things around here is none of your business, said Maddie. Actually, it absolutely is my business, said Ned. In fact, keeping the rules is basically my only business. That's kind of what the word enforcer means. I'm supposed to scold you for breaking the rules. So, audit me. Fine, said Ned. Let me check your ledger. We don't keep a ledger, said Maddie. Maybe you should, said Ned. Lots of places do. It's a great system. You have someone stand at the door and have them mark down whenever someone comes in or leaves. Then you forcibly evict people who are overstaying their welcome. I'm amazed that you don't have a system like that in place. Some people overstay their welcome, other people understay it, said Shay. There's no need to strictly keep track of how long people stay, right? Just maintain the balance. You're right, said Ned. All that matters is maintaining the balance. So maintain the balance, because when you don't, then we have a problem. We're a bit short-staffed to have someone acting as a full-time doorman, said Maddie. Figure it out, said Ned. He tapped the board listing the rules. Change 24 hours to 23 hours. When you say 24 hours, people think you just colloquially mean 1 day, and they don't pay attention to the specific time. When you say 23 hours, people actually have to keep track of what time it is. That would be fine, said Shay, except for the part where you're cutting time off people's stay. Trust me, said Ned. Anyone who would go right up to the limit is probably going to go over it. 23 hours is going to mean 23 hours plus an extra 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half hour plus however long it takes to finish their drink. And what if they leave in less than 24 hours? Who gives a shit? I give a shit, said Shay. You're right, you should give a shit, said Ned. In fact, you should celebrate whenever you manage to scooch someone out of here in under 24 hours, because the balance is upset and you've got to correct it. You can either correct the balance 1 hour at a time, or the council can come in here and repossess some souls. Or we can find someone who knows how to manage this property responsibly. He turned to Shay. Come on, buddy. I don't want to have to take this place away from you. That would be quite the escalation, said Maddie. Well, you're already on the first level of escalation, which is a stern talking to, said Ned. Let's try not to escalate it any further. Shay sighed. Maddie cut him off. We'll change the rule to 23 hours, okay? Buzz off. Wow, really? Said Ned. Well, okay then. And while you're rewriting the signs, you should also take the green tea frappuccino off the menu. Frapp should be for coffee, not for tea. Done, said Maddie. Wait, really? Said Ned. Damn, I didn't realize you were so open to feedback.
Also, that caramel.
We'll take it under advisement, said Maddie, placing a hand on Ned's chest and physically pushing him toward the door.
Hold up, said Ned. What are you doing?
Removing an unwanted guest, said Maddie. I need to practice if we're going to start enforcing those rules you care so much about.
No,
said Ned as he continued backpedaling to stay upright.
Look, you could just...
Bye, said Maddie, as Ned crossed the threshold out of the cafe and Maddie shut the door in his face. She turned around, leaning her back against the door, and sighed. Che raised an eyebrow.
You're serious about the rule change?
Yeah, said Maddie. I'll change the sign in the menu after we close tonight.
Wait, really?
The rule change is just to keep him off our backs, said Maddie.
And the menu thing?
I've been meaning to take that off anyway, said Maddie. It's the kind of menu item that attracts the worst sort of people.
Well, okay, said Che. Though I do think we should change the rule back to 24 hours after things have had enough time to balance out.
Of course, said Maddie. Wouldn't want to upset the balance too far in the opposite direction. What would we do with all that extra time anyway?
Huh.
Well, that certainly was a thing. Oh, now we can come downstairs. Oh wait, that means... Okay, what's this thing? What's doodle mode? Doodle mode?
In doodle mode, you can draw a face for each
Ashling. Whenever an Ashling appears throughout the game, you'll be able to see your artistic masterpiece. Amazing. Jacoby, Kepler, and Lovelace. Yep. Extra anime. Perfect. Perfect. Yep, it's perfect. You know, sometimes I even impress myself. This is ridiculous, but I really like that it's an option. Alright, then I guess that's everything for today's episode. So, thanks so much for watching, everyone. Be sure to come back next time. We'll continue on, and oof, how are they going to get out of this one? Anyway, I do really like this game. It's very odd, but it's cool, and I like it. If you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, all the other usual YouTube garbage, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody!